In a world obsessed with perfection, he was the odd one out, the artist who refused to fit in. From a small coastal town in New Zealand came a man with wild hair, a stranger's humor, and a vision that Hollywood couldn't quite define. They called him too weird, too silly, too risky. But that same madness would soon win him Oscars, Marvel contracts, and the power to make audiences laugh and cry in the same breath. This is the story of Taika Waititi, the Māori Jewish filmmaker who turned sarcasm into art and self-doubt into genius. The man who painted tragedy with the colors of comedy, who dared to make Hitler funny, and who made superheroes dance to synth pop. But behind every laugh was a storm: cultural identity, controversy, heartbreak, and the weight of fame that tried to silence him. So how did a misfit from the edge of the Pacific become one of the most daring storytellers in Hollywood? This is not just a story about success. It's a story about rebellion, creativity, and the courage to stay weird, no matter the cost. Taika David Waititi was born on August 16, 1975 in Raukokore, a remote coastal village on the eastern edge of New Zealand. His childhood was a collision of worlds. His father, a Māori artist and farmer from the Te Wānau-a-Apanui tribe, and his mother, a schoolteacher of Russian Jewish descent. From the beginning, Taika lived between two identities, never fully belonging to one. His father painted murals and lived by intuition, while his mother filled their small home with books, ideas, and imagination. The young Taika absorbed both, the artistry of his father and the wit of his mother. He grew up surrounded by poverty but never short on creativity. The ocean was his playground, storytelling, his escape. At school, he wasn't the popular kid. He was the oddball, the class clown who used humor to survive. He would sketch cartoon heroes, act out imaginary films, and imitate teachers for laughs. That ability to make people laugh, and to hide pain behind the joke, would later define his entire art. In a land where few from his background dreamed of Hollywood, Taika already saw himself on a bigger stage. He once said, "Growing up Māori Jewish in a small town, you either learn to adapt or learn to entertain." He chose both. After graduating from Victoria University in Wellington, Taika Waititi didn't take the traditional route. While others chased stable jobs, he chased laughter, performing in small comedy clubs, street theaters, and student stages where audiences were sometimes smaller than the cast. He became part of a comedy troupe called So You're a Man, a bizarre mix of satire, absurd humor, and chaos that mirrored his own personality. But behind the jokes was a filmmaker waiting to break free. Armed with a cheap camera and an even cheaper car, Taika began making short films with friends, experimenting with awkward silences and offbeat characters. His breakthrough came in 2003 with Two Cars, One Night, a tender, funny, and deeply human short film that earned him an Academy Award nomination. Suddenly, the world noticed the man from New Zealand who could make audiences laugh and feel at the same time. Yet fame didn't arrive overnight. His first feature, Eagle vs. Shark, was met with mixed reviews. Too strange for Hollywood, too commercial for indie purists. But Taika didn't care. He was finding his rhythm, a voice that blended Maori identity, dry humor, and emotional honesty. In those early years, every rejection became fuel. He wasn't just trying to make films, he was trying to prove that a misfit from the edge of the world could redefine how stories are told. The world finally started to understand Taika Waititi, or at least to enjoy the madness. In 2014, he co-wrote and co-directed What We Do in the Shadows, a mockumentary about vampire roommates struggling with modern life. It was weird, it was hilarious, and it was brilliant. The film became a cult hit, turning Taika into a global name and proving that comedy could be both absurd and profound. But his true leap came from an unexpected place: the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In 2017, Marvel took a risk and handed Thor: Ragnarok to the quirky Kiwi director. Hollywood doubted him. Could the man who made vampire comedies handle a $180 million blockbuster? Taika didn't just handle it, he reinvented it. He stripped away the gloom of the earlier Thor films and injected them with neon color, rock music, and self-aware humor. The result was a $850 million global success, and a critical redemption for Marvel's god of thunder. Taika became the symbol of creative freedom inside a corporate system, proof that personal style could thrive even under the weight of franchise filmmaking. Then came Jojo Rabbit, 2019, the story of a boy and his imaginary friend, Adolf Hitler, played by Taika himself. It was risky, emotional, and unexpectedly tender. The film won him an Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay, sealing his place among Hollywood's boldest storytellers. From indie sets in Wellington to the red carpets of Los Angeles, Taika Waititi had become a new kind of Hollywood hero, one who fought conformity not with anger, but with laughter. Success, as it often does in Hollywood, came with a price. After Jojo Rabbit's triumph, Taika Waititi was no longer the outsider. He was the industry's new favorite rebel. But when Thor, Love and Thunder, 2022, hit theaters, that love began to fade. Critics tore it apart. Fans accused him of turning a powerful superhero saga into a self-parody. For the first time, the laughter he built his empire on began to echo back as mockery. Social media turned ruthless. Every quip, every offbeat interview, every red carpet joke became ammunition. People began calling him arrogant, out of touch, and too full of himself. Even his private life, his relationship with pop star Rita Ora, became tabloid fuel. A viral photo of him sharing an intimate moment with two women on a balcony sent gossip columns into overdrive. Suddenly, the man who mocked fame became its prisoner. Taika tried to laugh it off. He tweeted memes, joked in interviews, brushed off criticism with the same charm that once won over the world. But behind the humor, there were cracks. In one interview, he confessed, "I'm always scared they'll find out I'm just pretending." The world that once celebrated his uniqueness now demanded he fit their expectations. Hollywood has a short memory. The same system that lifted him up was ready to move on, to the next rebel, the next sensation. Taika stood at the crossroads every artist dreads: conform or continue being misunderstood. He chose the latter. But choosing to stay weird, in a world that punishes difference, would be his hardest fight yet. When the noise faded, Taika Waititi did what he had always done best. He created. Instead of chasing box office redemption, he returned to what made him unique: stories about outsiders, underdogs, and dreamers. He became a producer and mentor, backing shows like Reservation Dogs, a groundbreaking series written and directed by Native American creators, inspired by his own fight for indigenous representation. He championed voices Hollywood often ignored, opening doors for others the same way he once fought to open his own. In 2023, he returned with Next Goal Wins, a heartwarming sports comedy based on a true story. The American Samoa soccer team that lost 31-0 and refused to give up. The film wasn't a blockbuster, but it was pure Taika, funny, hopeful, and deeply human. It reminded the world that his gift was never just making people laugh. It was helping them see beauty in failure. Behind the camera, he softened. He spoke more openly about identity, fatherhood, and love. He embraced collaboration instead of control, humility instead of irony. Taika Waititi had fallen, but he didn't vanish. He reinvented himself not by changing who he was, but by remembering why he started. For him, filmmaking was never about being perfect. It was about being honest. Taika Waititi's legacy is not just measured in awards or box office numbers. It's measured in courage. He dared to make films that shouldn't have worked, and somehow they did. He made vampires lovable, made Nazis ridiculous, and turned superheroes into disco icons. Through every twist and scandal, he proved that humor can be a weapon, not to destroy, but to heal. For Māori and Pacific storytellers, Taika opened doors that had been locked for generations. He showed that stories from small islands could echo across the world. He turned cultural identity into cinematic power. His journey, from the beaches of Raukokore to the heights of Hollywood, is a reminder that creativity isn't about fitting in. It's about standing out, even when the spotlight burns. As Taika once said, If you can laugh at life, you can survive anything. And that laughter, honest, fearless, and a little bit mad, will forever define his place in film history. If you love uncovering the untold stories behind Hollywood's brightest stars, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Stars and Scandals.